Hey human, welcome back to Everyday Affirmations with me, Blayne Katona. This is week 3 of our look into our relationship with procrastination. Procrastination is this internal push and pull. You know things need to change. You likely have an idea of what that looks like. But there is something about all of it that isn't comfortable. And the part that is waiting for comfort, the part that keeps choosing everything but forward motion, that part will keep circling back around if you don't push past it. You will keep doing the same things and getting the same results you say you don't want. Nothing changes if nothing changes. And no, it is not easy. But here is what I needed to hear and wish someone would have said to me sooner. You are front-loading the hardest part now. Once you leave, apply for the job, move, start the healing journey, you will have nothing familiar to hold on to. And yes, that is scary. But it is also the most alive you will feel. It's not quite Oregon Trail dysentery exciting, but you are actively running a choose-your-own adventure in real time. And with everything going on around you and outside of you, especially in times like this, I think you owe it to yourself to push past what feels comfortable and move toward uncomfortable happiness. The thing about why it feels so hard to move is because the brain is essentially running one core question over and over again. Is this safe? That is the entire operating system. And while we are no longer navigating the same threats the brain was originally designed for, the nervous system did not receive that update. So when you are sitting with something you know needs to happen, and you cannot make yourself do it, that is not a character flaw. That is your threat response doing exactly what it was built to do. The fear of rejection, humiliation, failure, losing something that matters, those are processed through the same neurological architecture as physical danger. The amygdala does not distinguish between a predator and a difficult conversation, between real threat and perceived threat, between something that could actually harm you and something that just feels that way. The hardware is ancient. It has just been applied to problems that it was never designed for. When I first started my healing journey, I did not think of myself as someone who procrastinated. I had a whole vocabulary for what I was doing instead. I was waiting for the right moment, protecting myself, being realistic, giving it time, using my ability to thrive under pressure as a personality strength rather than a delay tactic. What I was actually doing looked more like this. Spending hours on the phone with friends, talking about the person I was in a situation with, the partner, the friend, the family member who could not see me in the way I needed to be seen. We would build the case together, map out the conversation, come up with a plan to fix it, repair it, or end it, and I would feel so ready. And then I would be standing in front of that person and do absolutely none of it. Because doing nothing felt better in the moment. The relief of delay was real and immediate. The cost was something I only felt later. Alone, in the middle of the night, staring at the ceiling, rehearsing every angle of the days, weeks, and months before. Running every possible version of what I should have said, what I should have done, what I was going to do tomorrow. That is where procrastination really showed itself to me, not in the daylight, in the 3 a.m. ceiling stare. And even then, I did not call it procrastination. I called it overthinking, anxiety, being too sensitive, a personality trait, anything but the truth, which was I had not yet chosen to live the life I actually wanted to be living. I had not chosen myself. And two things can be true at the same time. I was genuinely feeling all of those things, and I was also avoiding the one honest decision underneath all of them. In The Alchemist, there is a character I think about sometimes. He has known his personal legend his whole life, which, as someone who has often felt like they were stumbling around in the dark, I find that really hard to imagine. But he has always known that he wanted to make the pilgrimage to Mecca, and he never goes. Not because he can't, but because the wanting of it has become the thing that keeps him going. He is afraid that if he actually does it, he will have nothing left to want. So he stays. He tends the shop. He builds a life that is almost the life he wanted, and he chooses it consciously every single day. The author writes him with compassion. He is not a cautionary tale. He is someone who made a choice and then built a life around staying comfortable inside it. I recognized myself in him immediately, in the relationships I stayed in and stacked up reasons to justify, in the friendships I kept quiet in because I genuinely liked the person and I believe that no one is perfect. And the conversation made it seem like I was making a mountain out of a molehill. Those were my versions of tending the shop. And the 3 a.m. rehearsals were not preparation. They were the illusion of movement without the cost of actually moving. The thing about convincing yourself is you can do it remarkably well in daylight with the right company, with enough busyness around you. But when it's just you and the ceiling and the silence, you know. You know whether those were legitimate reasons or whether they were just excuses that got very comfortable over time. So, if you have decided that living in the almost version of what you want is not what you want, that you would rather go on the journey, here is something else that I wish I had known earlier. Everything you are looking for is not somewhere else entirely. It is not hidden or out of reach or reserved for people who had an earlier start. It is simply on the other side of the journey, not around it, not under it, through the journey. This week, I want you to think about your version of the phone call, the plan you made and never executed, the ceilings you have stared at, the thing you have been calling something other than what it is. Take the opportunity to speak to yourself honestly. Strengthening the habit of hearing your own truth is one of the most important places to start. So, let's take a big, deep breath in. Quiet the mind. Open self. Now, let's begin. I am learning to recognize that readiness is something I build, not something I wait for. I am learning to recognize that readiness is something I build, not something I wait for. am beginning to see what I have been protecting by procrastinating. I am beginning to see what I have been protecting by procrastinating. I am allowed to want to change even when change feels unfamiliar. I am allowed to want to change even when change feels unfamiliar. I am learning to trust that discomfort and danger are different experiences. I am learning to trust that discomfort and danger are different experiences. I allow myself to grieve what felt safe, even when it was keeping me small. I allow myself to grieve what felt safe, even when it was keeping me small. I am learning to allow myself to build momentum one step at a time. I am learning to allow myself to build momentum one step at a time. I am learning that the procrastination was always trying to protect something real. I am learning that the procrastination was always trying to protect something real. I am learning to be committed to making progress, no matter how small. I am learning to be committed to making progress, no matter how small. I am learning to choose uncomfortable happiness over familiar misery. I am learning to choose uncomfortable happiness over familiar misery. I am learning to call unfamiliarity expansion. I am learning to call unfamiliarity expansion. Everything you want is on the other side of the journey, not around it, not under it, through it. Until next time, keep affirming, keep believing, and keep pouring your unique magic into the world.